Smith, he's former head of the UK Border Force. Good afternoon to you, Tony.
Afternoon, Julia.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let me ask you, should we have an emergency census to try and find out just where everyone is and who everyone is who is in this country after the Boris wave, which we've seen, and this is such a staggering figure, 3.9 million, almost 4 million more people arriving in this country. Not sure we know where any of them are or who they are or what they're earning or if they're earning at all, but do we need a census to find out?
Well, we do need to find out somehow, Julia, because I've got no idea how many people are living in this country. I don't expect you do either.
Nope.
And that's one of the reasons why people are asking for this. I'm not sure that we've got accurate figures, either of the numbers of people here. We are getting figures of the ins and outs, which you and I talk about regularly. I'm not sure they're even accurate. No. I would certainly introduce a biometric entry-exit system at our border. That's not going to be very expensive with technology these days, so we know exactly who's coming in and who's not coming. I mean, it wouldn't catch up the illegal clandestines, but it would certainly for legal migrants, we would know exactly the numbers and how long people are staying and so on and so forth. But in the communities, when I was regional director in the UK Border Agency, I did try and set up local immigration teams or regional immigration teams, RITs, which would work within communities, within councils, within local authorities to help them to identify who is actually living on your patch, what is their immigration status, and are they entitled to be in the accommodation they're in. I'm really worried about these houses of multiple occupancies. We've got people going in there. Some of them are boat arrivals. Some of them are waifs and strays. We've got all kinds of people living within our communities. We don't know who they are, and we don't know what their status is. So I do think we need to get a grip. And I'm not sure a census, filling out a form by the household.
Funnily enough, a lot of those people might not fill out a form. I was likened to the fact that after the EU, everyone who would live to here from the EU and was entitled to stay here after Brexit, and they basically said, can you register and show proof you've lived here for 5 years? And it turns out there was 2 million more people from the EU living here than we knew. I find that extraordinary, given that so much of our, how taxes are, they're taken in and how they are spent by the government in terms of funding for local councils, for areas, whether we need more houses or rail links or spending on the healthcare in a particular, is all based on the census. How many people are there, of what age, what are their needs? Well, if that information is skewed so massively, you don't know where millions of people are, even if they exist in the country, that makes a nonsense of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, so the EU settlement figure, as you say, originally was predicted to be 2.5 to 3 million. I did a bit of work on that myself, and it turned out to be closer to 7 million.
Oh, it was even, I thought it was around the 5 million mark.
Yeah, it's nearer 7 now.
Who knows?
Because of, I mean, they register through a biometric enrolment system at the Home Office, so they can count the number of applications. But it was closer to 7 million than 3 million in the end. Yeah. And that's just European citizens. So we don't know really how many foreign nationals are staying here.
And they're the people who were allowed to be here and came here legally.
And they've been given, most of them have been given settlement status now, so that's fair enough. They're allowed to be here. They've got their settlement. But I don't know how many people coming from other countries have got lawful settlement, are actually living in our communities. How many overstayers?
We should know that. This seems to me to be so basic. And again, I think things I find very frustrating is when you're standing in a queue at passport control, when you come back from a late flight somewhere in Europe, back to your own country with your British passport, that you're having to stand there in queue and maybe, often ask questions. I always find, where are you from? Where are you coming from? I don't know. I've been on a flight overnight. I've got no idea where I've come from or where I'm going. I don't remember my own name. But you're queuing up and you think, surely they're using this information for something. And you think, well, how is it we don't know who's in the country and what they're doing? And especially as we know, we've got problems with migrant crime. Not you and I have talked a lot about illegal migrant crime, a massive issue, but even with migrants who are here legally. New data showing that migrants are being sanctioned for breaking benefits rules more than 200 times a day. And again, I think it's only recently a lot of people realise how many migrants are not earning and contributing, and whether they're here legally or illegally, are on benefits.
Yeah, so we need a much better integrated system across Whitehall, Julia, on all this. I mean, DWP, HMRC and the Home Office need to talk to each other and share a lot more information about this, because they don't know. I don't think they're very well trained in the DWP local offices on immigration and borders and checking status. And someone comes in and they get a benefit and you think, well, actually, who are you? I mean, and where, you're illegal, or you got overstay, or you got permission? Where's your permission? I'm not sure we're doing those sorts of checks. So we need a much better cross-Whitehall integrated system of identity and entitlement.
Tony Blair's popping up right now on my shoulder going, digital ID cards.
Well, that's part of it, but digital ID cards, extending them to Brits is really just not going to solve the problem, is it? I mean, what we need a proper identity and verification system right across Whitehall, so we know that everybody who's in this country, if they're claiming benefits, they're in it. They've got their immigration status enables them to do that. Overstayers are not entitled to benefits.
Yeah, I would say if you're a migrant to this country, if you run out of money, off you go home. Just want to ask you very finally and briefly, Donald Trump has put in this travel ban for a number of countries, basically basket case countries where they've got a big problem with terrorism and violence, and basically said, no, you can't come to America. You're going to suspend all applications for visas and you're not coming. Tourists, work, students, no. He's now extended that travel ban and restrictions to 20 more countries. Do we need to think about doing this?
Well, the thing about Trump is that he's got such a massive, power base to operate, Julia. We've seen him do things that were unheard of a year ago.
Yeah.
Like things that they've done on the border, things they're doing on ICE teams in communities, deportations, and now this. Now, we can argue whether that's proportionate or not. Should you write off a complete country because there are, a section of that country are coming and causing harm? I don't know. Maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. I mean, what I'd say about Trump, Julia, is he is delivering the sort of political leadership that is desperately needed to serve the people of America on immigration and borders. They voted him in because he promised to put America first, and blow me down, he has certainly done that. Look at their intake figures on the border. You
don't have to agree with the guy or like the guy a lot of issues. He said he was going to do it. Americans voted for it and he's done it. Again, I'm pretty sure we could do it if we wanted to as well. Tony Smith, great to talk to you, former head of the UK Border Force. Thank you very much indeed. Going to take a quick break. Up